Packers hired a new coach, and there's a little unsureness of who's going to actually be on the team next year. That's the topics for tonight, so stick around. This video is brought to you by Packer Fan Cave. Everything you need to turn your man cave into a Packer fan cave. You can check them out at packerfancave.net. There is a link in the description below this video. So the Packers hired new head coach Matt Lafluer, and he's a guy I don't know a whole lot about. So here to talk about him with me is my good friend and lifelong Packer fan, Mark Padriana. Mark, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me again.
So, how confident are you in the Packers choosing Lafleur as a head coach?
Well, I don't know how confident I am, but I'm excited. I think he deserves the benefit of the doubt. I think there's been some talk locally and more nationally that maybe this is not a great hire. I've heard some things on some national shows saying that he's inexperienced. He's coming from Tennessee, and he hired an offensive coordinator who came from Jacksonville, and those aren't the two most exciting offenses we've seen in a while. But I think if you look a little bit deeper, I think Lafleur is at least deserves an opportunity, because from what I hear from insiders in the business talking about what this guy is going to bring to the team, I'm really excited. And I think we have to look back to, when it comes to the inexperienced part, or coming from maybe not the sexiest offense. I mean, we have to remember as Packer fans that, when Mike Holmgren came here, his last year in San Francisco, they were the 32nd ranked offense in the National Football League.
Yeah.
And things worked out pretty well once he got to Green Bay. When Mike McCarthy got here, he had never called a single play. He was not the play caller when he got here, and he called plays here for more than a decade, and I think that worked out pretty well. So, and also in terms of where they've come from most recently, yes, Lafleur was in Tennessee, and that was his first opportunity to call plays, but he came from the Rams 2 years ago, who were the highest scoring team in the league, and he had a huge impact on Jared Goff's first year in the league. And you look at Nathaniel Hackett coming from Jacksonville. Yes, they had a terrible season. But 2 years ago, he was the offensive coordinator there as well, and they were the 6th-ranked scoring offense in the league with Blake Bortles as their quarterback. So, I mean, I think he did really good things here. Last year didn't turn out so well, but that's not a really talented team. So I think from what I hear and what these guys are going to bring to the table in terms of new ideas on how to attack defenses, I think Packer fans eventually will be pleasantly surprised with these hires.
Yeah. Sounds like the potential for potential is there.
It is. And I think we should at least be excited. I think it'll take time because it is a new offense, and the first time Aaron's going to learn a new offense. But I think if we're patient, I think it's going to pay off in the long run. At least I hope so as a Packer fan.
And I think to a big extent it really depends on, what kind of players are going to be around him in this offense. There's the looming question: is Randall Cobb going to come back? And the question of do we really want him to? And Randall Cobb is a receiver that I've always liked. I do have to admit, though, that I expected him to be better than he is at this point in his career. And, maybe some of that, can be blamed on injuries, but for the most part, I just expected him to be a much bigger force on this team as he gained experience. And I don't feel like we've quite gotten that. I mean, do you expect to see him back next year?
I think it would be I don't know if it's a long shot that he comes back. He's not under contract anymore. He's going to be a free agent. And I think he's young enough where he's going to get a multi-year contract from somebody else. I think the Packers would like to have him back, in all honesty.
Yep.
But they'd obviously like the healthy version of Randall Cobb back. But I don't think they're going to put up the money that he can get on the open market. Whereas somebody who, like Clay Matthews, who's also not under contract, I don't know that he'll get the long-term deal that he's looking for out in free agency, and I think the Packers are more likely to bring somebody like that back on a smaller deal.
Right. Right. And two, you look at Nick Perry. He definitely has shown potential, but he's another one of them that I just expected that at this point in his career would be a more exciting player. We'd hear his name more often on defense. And he did have one good year, and then he got the big contract. I don't. Is his contract up this year? Do you know?
I believe Nick Perry is still under contract. I think he's somebody that they might look to exercise an option on getting rid of him or a buyout, or if he wants to come back and they want him to come back, I think it'd have to be on a restructured deal where he's going to have to take considerably less money, like Mason Crosby did after he signed his large contract, came out, had a horrible year, and then they renegotiated that contract, lessened it a little bit for him to kind of earn his way back. But I think Perry has been a disappointment, like you said, other than that 1 year that he was in the contract year. I think Packers fans want him to be good, but I don't think they expect him to be good anymore and be around. And this team could look entirely different. And we talked about Crosby just a second ago. Who knows? Yeah. There's guys that are not under contract that could be back, and there's guys that are under contract right now that might not be back. Jimmy Graham, for example. We'll see what they do there. But the fact of the matter is we don't know because it's a new administration, and this is going to be the first real go-around for Gutekunst. And, he's got the year under his belt now, but I think, this is going to be the first time where he's feeling comfortable enough to, where it's his job. We'll see what Mark Murphy has to say about that.
Yeah,
but, right. I think, we just don't know which direction the teams. There's been so many changes already. I think there's the potential for a lot more, but as Packer fans, I'd like to see them get, a little bit faster and more explosive on offense and a few more playmakers on defense, and I think we can turn things around.
Now, you brought up Gutekunst, and that's one thing. I kind of have mixed feelings about what he did with his first year as a Green Bay Packers GM. I know a lot of Packer fans, and I was one of them, was excited to see a lot of moves in the offseason last year. It was a little disappointing to see how those moves didn't pan out. I was really impressed with his first-round pick of Jair Alexander. But at the same time, I feel like when we finally had Nick Collins' replacement in Clinton Dix, now we don't have him anymore. And I really don't even know what the thinking on that was. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that obviously we don't hear or see or know about. I don't know what the issue with was, but I definitely felt like that wasn't the greatest decision to trade him for basically nothing in the middle of the season like that. So there are things that I'm really excited about Gutekunst and happy, and there's other things that I'm definitely not as happy about. How did you feel after what he had for a first season?
Yeah, I thought that he took some swings, and like you said, I think Jair Alexander is a home run.
Yep.
But some of the other picks, they looked a lot better a quarter of the way or halfway through the season than they kind of turned out. But I think all in all, he did a good job. I think he addressed a position of need. He took a shot with Jimmy Graham. It didn't quite work out the way we'd hoped. Jimmy Graham, not quite as explosive or fast as he once was, and not able to separate like we had seen in years past. But I think he took a chance at a position of need, and he went out and spent a little money in free agency. It didn't cost the team a lot, and it didn't work out the way we hoped, but at least we had a position, a hole, and, we'd seen in years past where we didn't necessarily fill that need or address that need. So at least he went after it there. Like I said, it didn't work out. A couple of the young receivers, I think they're wait and see. I think they can contribute to the team in the long run. I think with the punter, I think that was a solid pick. But the rest of the picks, Oren Burke was a third round pick at linebacker, and he barely saw the field. And the guy's quick as lightning, and we were just so slow on defense. It was just a bizarre season.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of questions out there, but I think he's got a lot of draft picks this year, and I think we'll really know after this season. Okay, this guy's either he's got it or he doesn't. I mean, we may not know, opening week, but I think by the end of, the upcoming season, we'll have a much better idea of whether this is the guy going forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think kind of right now we're left with more questions than answers, really. I know I have brought this up a couple times, but as Packer fans, we are kind of spoiled, and we're not used to going 2 years in a row without seeing our team in the playoffs. And Gutekunst was only here for the 1 year, but it just, again, just more questions than answers, and it's just a strange time. It kind of feels like that time before Brett Favre and Reggie White came along. You know what I mean? Where it was just this question of, do we really have a team to be fans of? And then you kind of go back to the late in Favre's career with the 4-12 season, and questions. And then you see the new regime come in, and Mike McCarthy came in and stepped it up, and Ted Thompson, I think, had a lot of good things that he did more early in his career than later in his career. I kind of feel like that's one of those you live long enough to see yourself become the bad guy type of situations where maybe he could have done himself a favor and retired a few years before they got rid of him. But what do you guys think out there? Are you excited about what the Packers are doing? Do you have high hopes for the upcoming off season and even next year? Leave your thoughts in the comments section down below. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Mark, thanks again for being here. I really appreciate it.
Go Pack, go.
And for the Packer Fan Network, I am Mark Schneider.